Hello and welcome to the Spandex and Wine podcast. I'm your host, Robin Hackney, and I'm so happy that you're here. This podcast is a place for conversations about balancing a healthy lifestyle and being happy, more specifically, happy hour. Together, we'll explore all things wellness and wine. I hope you learn a little, laugh a lot, and along the way, know you're not alone on this balanced wellness journey. Ready to jump in? Pour something in your glass that makes you happy because it's time for Spandex and Wine. Hello and welcome to the Spandex and Wine podcast. Today's guest is a friend from my past that I didn't know I needed more of in my life. I truly value her knowledge and love our time together every time I see her. She is a licensed esthetician that gives care to all of her clients in a way that leaves them wanting more. Today I welcome Tracie Johnson. We are recording. Well, hello and welcome to the Spandex and Wine podcast, Tracie. I'm so happy that you're here.
Yeah, glad to be here.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to this conversation. We have been friends for a long time now. We won't say how long. No one needs to know that. They don't need to kind of get our age. But for a long time now, and we reconnected, I don't know, maybe 6 or 7 months ago, because I was looking for a way to give myself some self-care. And I knew that you were an esthetician and someone that I trusted. And after my first session with you, I was hooked. Absolutely loved it. You are phenomenal. So would you mind sharing with us just kind of how you got started with all of this?
Back in the late 90s, my husband around Mother's Day gifted me with a spa day, one of the best Mother's Day presents I've ever gotten. And I got a facial and a massage and a manicure and a pedicure. And I professionally had never had any of those things done before, ever. And, and so that all of it was wonderful, but I was completely hooked on all the things from that on, especially facial services. I loved it. A massage is great. I loved getting my nails done, but there just was something about a facial that I could just go into that room and shut everything off and just receive. And I really loved that. So I continued on, with that and would just kind of sporadically get facials, somewhat regularly. And then I started getting later into my 20s and early 30s. And I started going about once a month kind of for just a feel good thing, just self-care kind of a thing. And then my mid 30s, I started developing cystic acne, which I'd never had. I was kind of one of the people in high school that it was like like one little breakout or blemish around your period. And that was really all I ever broke out. And so for me to have just like this kind of painful cystic acne was something completely new. And it was also, It was all hormonal, but it was painful. I didn't know what to do. And I went to my doctor, my dermatologist, because I always get skin checks because I've had moles removed and things since my late teens. So I'd always been really on top of getting my skin checked. And he prescribed a gel, which was fantastic, super pricey. And I went to my esthetician. I was like, hey, so I started, we'll pause here. Anytime you go to an esthetician, you should always let them know if you're on any kind of prescription or topical medication. So I go to her and I said, oh, by the way, started this new cream. This is what my doctor prescribed, yada, yada. And she said, okay. And so we kind of talked about that. And she said, are you ready to start getting serious about treatment instead of just, kind of just receiving a frou-frou-y facial? I'm like, okay. So I set up regular things with her. I saw her every 2 weeks in addition to using my cream, and that helped out a lot, kind of get things under control. So that's where I kind of moved from this thing of like self-care and like something fun I did for myself into let's tackle a real problem that I have with my skin. And I didn't really think about that was something that she could do for me. I thought she was someone I go to, kind of like a massage you go to and it feels good and it works some things loose. But it wasn't something that I was thinking of an actual treatment. And then my 40s, I developed basal cell carcinoma on my face, which is a form of skin cancer. And that became just its own life entirely, and was a lot more involved than what we thought it was going to be. And that's, that's a whole nother thing. And so I kind of at that point, I'd heard about oncology aesthetics, and that was really interesting to me. And I'd always wanted to do aesthetics. I looked at doing it when I was younger, and just the timing wasn't right. And I was a stay-at-home mom, and we have a home-based business and raising young kids and all the things.
Mm-hmm.
And so it kind of got to the point where I was now empty nest and approaching empty nest. And I thought, you know what? It's my now or never moment. I've always wanted to do this. I will regret it if I don't.
Yeah.
And if I do, then I'll do it for however long I do it for, but I'll regret it if I don't do it. And so I went to aesthetic school in my mid 40s.
That's great.
That was a treat.
Yes. No, I mean, I have a similar story. I did the same thing. I mean, I was early 30s, but yeah, same thing. I worked in the corporate world for a while and then decided, no, this is not what I want to do. I want to help people. And you're kind of in the same boat. So
yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Okay. Well, I know you helped me out on a retreat before with giving some information to the ladies, but I want to dive just a little bit deeper into some of the things that we have talked about before in the past. So I know people hear that your skin is your largest organ, but I don't think they really understand what that means, that everything you put on your skin is absorbed into your body. So when people say that, like, how do you explain that to people?
So we get all sciencey when we start talking about this. So different products have molecular weights, and the molecular weight of that product kind of determines on how far it's going to penetrate into your skin, right? So, I mean, like if you I heard this analogy once. They're like, if you slap pizza sauce on your skin, you're not going to that's not going to sink all in. And basically, no. I mean, there are things that would, get on your skin and it would be gross, but it's not like you're going to have tomato going right into your skin, right? So there are things that are broken down into these molecular weights, and that, like I said, determines how deep they penetrate into your skin. You've got all these layers of your epidermis and then your dermis. And if something is a heavier molecular weight, then it's not going to penetrate as far. And if something is a smaller molecular weight, then it's going to penetrate much deeper. So that also adjusts the skincare items that you use and the order in which you use them.
Oh, okay. Oh, that makes sense. Okay. Because I know I've asked you before, okay, now what number is this? When do I do that?
Yeah, right.
But I'd also, so you hear about like different metals and things being in some cosmetics. And so that's why it's important to, well, I mean, obviously know what metals in your system, but to look out for those too.
Absolutely. I think one of the things that you can do as to be I always preach being your own best advocate, right? And one of the things that you can do, obviously, knowledge and education is power. And we have this really great thing called Google now, right? And I mean, like I have reference books of ingredient breakdowns, but there's Google. You can literally take a box and flip it over and look at the ingredient doc and be like, what is this giant long word, and where does it come from, and what does it do, and is it safe, is it not safe? And then there's all these really great people that you can follow that are, and I'm not talking about like just an average TikToker. Like there's different people, and I forget what her handle is now, but like there's a TikToker or Instagram reel or whatever, and she's basically a cosmetic chemist, and she breaks down different things that are actually in ingredients that are in your skincare items that people are like, oh no, you shouldn't use this item because it will do this. And she'll actually break it down from a chemical standpoint and say, yes and no. If you were doing that on a large scale, it's going to have this effect. But if you're doing that on a small scale, the parts per million or parts per whatever it is, it's not as detrimental as what you're thinking it is. So there are definitely things, there are definitely ingredients you want to shy away from. There are some ingredients that get a bad rap. And then there are other ingredients that are just like, they're great, So it's kind of, you really need to do your due diligence and not just basically, I hate to say this, but not believe just anything somebody tells you, especially when they have no education or knowledge or product training or whatever to back it up with. Does that make sense?
Right. It does make sense. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think you always want to do your due diligence in that area. I know there's a lot of people that follow, oh, what is that app? There's like this app that you can scan whatever, or you can look it up in the app and it will tell you like what the good and bad rating is. And it's really kind of subjective because, like I said, they're not taking into consideration some of the things, how they're sourced is a big deal. How an
Mm-hmm.
ingredient is sourced, how it's broken down, how it's processed, what other ingredients are in that work synergistically with that. There's so much more to it than this is a good item and this is a bad item. So
Mm-hmm.
really, it helps when you have someone that can kind of break that down for you or say, this is okay because of XYZ, and give you the knowledge and the education to
Right.
be able to help you figure that out. Does that make sense? I'm
Yeah.
not trying to make it
Yes. No, it does
confusing,
make
but
sense.
it's like, I don't know, every question that you ask is like, there's like this whole other backstory
Yeah.
than just like an easy answer. I don't know.
Okay. Well, let's go back to something I said, and then something that you said as well. When I said that I was looking for something for health or self-care, and you
Mm-hmm.
said that you started out the same, but then your
Mm-hmm.
esthetician was wanting to go a little bit deeper with treatment. So
Sure.
tell me, like, what all do you do? And because I'm sure maybe I'm ready for the next step. I have no idea. I just trust you and you just tell me what to do. But yeah, so people go in for a facial, but like, what kinds of things do you recommend? Like,
Some of the things that I like to know is basically what your skincare goal is. And everybody kind of in our demographic and even people that are way younger, anti-aging, of course, is the one
mm-hmm,
thing that everybody wants. But then there's also things that other people deal with, like hyperpigmentation, like we're in our 40s and 50s and getting older. And then all these sunspots start to appear and you get hyperpigmentation and dark spots from years of sun exposure. So
mm-hmm.
I provide facial services. Facial services are great. I provide that, but along those lines, there's additional treatments. There's chemical peels. It's chemical peel season. Most of us are out of the sun now. Chemical peels can do a wealth of things. There are some of them are like you're going to have snake shedding skin type of effect, and other things are going to be more of a micro peel where you're not really going to have any peeling or flaking on the surface, but it's affecting things on an epidermal level layers down. And so that affects
Mm-hmm.
change. It can help with the appearance of fine lines and wrinkles. It can help that cell turnover and regeneration so that things are happening at a quicker rate, which helps with your fine lines and wrinkles. There are some products that suppress melanin, and there are tyrosinase inhibitors, which suppresses that darkening pigmentation when you get sun damage. So we suppress that, and then we create like a wound response with chemical peels, and it helps to slough that skin off and then get it turning over faster. So you've got cleaner, healthier, younger looking skin that's coming up at a more rapid rate, because as we get older, everything sloughs off much slower. Everything slows down, right? And so there's that aspect of it. There is microcurrent, which is great. It uses electrical current, and it's applied with a modality that I use, and basically a tool that I use, and it uses your body's own energy along with that microcurrent technology, and it boosts adenosine triphosphate. I think you and I may have talked about this before. Adenosine triphosphate is the energy that is created in your muscles when you work out. It's what helps to lift and
Mm-hmm.
tone and tighten
Yep.
your muscles. So when you utilize certain aspects of facial massage, like facial massage does that as well, but it also like microcurrent, it stimulates that adenosine triphosphate, and it helps to stimulate that in your cells and in your facial muscles. So it lifts and tones and tightens your muscles. It can also be used on a different wavelength, and it helps to relax your muscles. So like you'll get your 11s, in between your between your eyebrows. And
Mm-hmm.
my friend Amy calls them train tracks across your forehead, and you get all these things. And so when you utilize those currents on different wavelengths and at different strengths, it either can relax those muscles so you don't have that constricture, or it can lift and tone and tighten that muscle. And it's all through creating of that adenosine triphosphate, which also stimulates cell regeneration, helps with acne breakouts, it helps with overall skin health, and collagen elastin. Like it's just multifaceted, some of the different procedures that you can do. So a lot of it depends on how deep someone wants to go. Obviously, if you go into a med spa, they have a whole wealth of things that they can offer that me as a solo esthetician, I can't offer those things because I'm not under a doctor directive.
Mm-hmm.
So you also have different things that are offered in different places, and that's why. So you can go to one esthetician that's a solo, and I can offer you nano infusion or microneedling, or not microneedling, but nano infusion, microchanneling. But if you go to a med spa, they may offer you something that's more invasive, like microneedling and some of that kind of stuff. So that's why there's a little bit of a distinction there. All of
Wow.
it is effective, and all of it you can use to be effective. Some of the different things are how invasive they are and different price points and just how deep you can actually go into the
Huh.
skin, into the epidermis. So
That is so
much.
cool. Like I just knew
There's so much.
30, 60, or 90-minute session.
30
I'm like, okay, whatever,
Do you
just
want
do
an
whatever.
express or regular or extended? Yeah. Yeah. It's so, I'm not a sciencey person, but as soon as I went to aesthetics school, I was like, this is like all science.
Yeah.
This is not my jam, but it becomes so interesting and so amazing how all of it is woven together and how everything just affects and builds on each other.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Well, I was going to say that Mr. Madison and Mr. Ragsdale would be very proud of you because I feel like I just was in a science class right there. Those are our high school
That's
biology
funny.
and chemistry teachers, for those of you that don't know.
Yeah.
But I do think
Yeah.
too, that's the advantage of going back to school at the age that we did, because you learn things differently. When you're sitting there and you're learning that when you're 16 years old, well, you're not applying that to anything, but now we have life places that we can apply that in our life. So
Absolutely. And it
yeah,
becomes your choice, right?
true.
It's your choice.
Yes.
It's something that you're like, I want to know about this one thing, and I'm going to school about this one thing. And so
Right.
you are more invested in it than high school.
Right.
Sorry, Mr. Madison.
Uh, okay, I know what your answer is going to be, but I'm going to ask it anyway. The one thing that you would recommend people do when it comes to their skin.
You tell me. What am I going to say?
You're going to say sunscreen.
I am going to say sunscreen. It is your number one anti-ager. It is the one thing. It's like today when we're doing this podcast, it's raining and it's gloomy and it's cloudy outside. I still have my sunscreen on. Why? Because UVA penetrates through clouds. And that's your aging ray. No matter what, you may not be able to go outside and get a sunburn, but you are still getting exposed to UVA rays, and that is your aging ray. It's intensified when it comes through glass. So even if you're someone who sits at a desk, but you're near an open window and you get constant sunlight in your office, or you drive around a lot and you're in your car, you are constantly being exposed to UVA rays. So sunscreen is the number one anti-ager. It's the one thing that just about everybody leaves out.
Sure.
And it's your first line of defense against aging. The sun is what breaks down your collagen and elastin. It's the number one thing. Yeah. Number one thing.
Yeah. And what SPF? I know I've asked you this before, but let's talk about that. If there's a brand or whatever you would recommend, because I remember you saying before, just do it. That's the one thing. That's your first step. Don't worry about what kind, what SPF. Just start.
Yeah. I like a good 30 and above.
Okay.
Like the ones that I use typically are anywhere between 30 and 50s. And there's a lot of different kinds of sunscreen. There's chemical sunscreen. There is mineral sunscreen. So there's a lot of different options. Be cognizant, do your due diligence, kind of look into those. I carry in my treatment room, I carry for your face, I carry one sunscreen that is a mineral sunscreen, and I carry one that is a chemical. And the chemical one, I can't believe I would ever say this, but it's by Circadian. I absolutely love it. And they've got all these different stabilizers in there, and they've got peptides in there. It's great for anti-aging. It's a great light moisturizer. I wear it under my makeup every day. You can apply it over your makeup throughout the day. That's the other thing. I think a lot of people are like, oh yeah, I put sunscreen on, like 8 hours ago. Well, that was like 8 hours ago.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You need to be reapplying on the regular. And that's something that a lot of people don't. And a lot of people don't realize you can reapply your sunscreen over your makeup without disturbing your makeup. Put a little bit on your hands, pat it into your face.
Yeah. Well, I think that would have to come with the quality of the sunscreen too,
Agreed.
wouldn't it?
I agree. Yeah, I agree. I agree. And like some of them can get very pilly, which I don't like. So I always, I don't know, when I'm in my treatment room and I show people the two different sunscreens I have, I always put a little bit on the back of their hands of each one and kind of be like, okay, this is what this one is like. And this is why I like it. And this is what it does. And this is what this one does. And this is why I like it. And this is what it does. And I may give a pro and con to each, that people have said, I like this and I don't like this, because what I like may not be something that you like, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what
Mm-hmm.
works for my skin is not going to work for your skin. I mean, there may be aspects of it that might work for your skin, but everybody has different needs because everybody's skin is different. But the number
Right.
one thing, yeah, that like I think just, and that's just my personal opinion. And I'm sure people would be like, oh, but this or but that, or with different arguments about different SPF levels. The biggest thing is use it and reapply it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yeah.
if I can just get people to use it, like
Right.
that's my main goal. I just want you to use it. I just want you to use it.
Well, and I know my first time that I came in, I said, okay, Tracie, I am low maintenance. I just need a basic plan to start with because
Yeah.
seriously, my first step is remembering to wash my face at night.
Yep.
And so you put me on a serum and then eye cream and a moisturizer, of course.
Yeah. We
And
added those things. Yeah.
yeah, yes. And then sunscreen as
After the
well.
fact.
But take us through what would be the next step? Tell me the products that you would number one recommend for the low maintenance person and how you would take them up.
The low maintenance person, I always try to add, just like I asked you, I'm like, how many, what do you see? What is your goal? What are you going to use and what are you not going to use? Because as much as I want to sell you product, I want to make sure that you're going to use it, right? I mean,
Right.
the product only works if you use it. So for low maintenance, I would say a cleanser that meets your skin type. Like CeraVe did a study, I don't know, several years back, maybe 2018, 2019. Like 80% of people are using the wrong cleansers and washing their face wrong and using the wrong skincare. So
That's
like
crazy.
80%. So
Yeah.
use the cleanser that's good for your skin type. And that's a
Mm-hmm.
whole conversation between you and a professional in itself. And a good moisturizer and an SPF. Those three, if you're a minimalist, those three items: cleanser,
Okay.
moisturizer, SPF.
See, I got
That's a
them wrong.
good base
Okay.
point. Yeah,
Okay.
we started you there. But a lot of
Okay.
times
That's right.
people they'll ask me questions and I'll say, okay, we'll kind of go through what they're willing to use and what they're not willing to use, how many steps they want to do. Some people are like, I want all the steps. 15, let's do it. And other people are like, if I could just wash my face regularly, that'd be a
Yeah.
start. So I always try to start where the person is. And then
Mm-hmm.
also, skincare can be expensive, right? So let's
Mm-hmm.
start with, what are you running out of?
Mm-hmm.
What do you feel like you need and what are you running out of? I'm starting to run out of this. Okay, let's start there. Let's
Mm-hmm.
start there so that we can ease you into things so it's not so overwhelming.
Right.
If you were going to bump up from those three basics, I would add in a serum.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Ultimately, I would add in a vitamin C serum because you can use it morning and night. It has great benefits. It is an antioxidant. It's going to protect you from free radicals during the day. It's a brightening. It helps with anti-aging. Love vitamin C.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I'm going to add in a fourth thing, I would add in a vitamin C serum. If you are someone who really wants a lot of anti-aging benefits, let's talk about adding in maybe a retinol serum at night. If you're someone who's like, hey, look, I can't do retinol, there are alternatives that are plant-based that convert in your system. Vitamin A is really cool. It can convert in your system to vitamin A. It changes once you put it on your skin. And
Huh.
so that's actually really cool. So there's a lot of things that you can do um, that will help that conversion process. So if I use a high form of vitamin A or retinol on my skin, I will break out more. I'll have a purging time because I'm more cystic. It'll be great later on, but I've got to get through the purge, right? So some things
Yeah.
come with a little like, okay, we're going to get through this really rough patch and then it's going to be great.
Mm-hmm.
So vitamin A, probably after SPF, number one anti-age or SPF after SPF. Um, Helps with wrinkle depth, helps with brightening your skin, helps with that cell regeneration and getting it turning over faster. So I would maybe add that in at night if you're going to take one step further. And then
Mm-hmm.
go on to like maybe an eye cream.
Okay.
I do love a good eye cream. You want to make sure you're not using anything heavy around the eyes. Most eye creams are lighter. Sometimes there's an eye serum. Kind of just depends on the product you're using, products that are available. Um, so yeah, but all that helps with brightness and making you look more youthful and awake.
Wonderful. And oh my gosh, it feels so great too. Oh, I love the
Yeah.
picture. I'm going to have to post the picture that you took of me when we were doing some lash stuff. Oh my gosh, it's so funny. I'll be sure and post that. Oh goodness. So what else would you add? Like how often should people be getting facials?
My preference for myself, unless you're working towards a specific goal, I like
Hmm.
a good monthly facial, like every 4 weeks. Obviously, if you are someone who maybe 4 weeks isn't financially feasible, I have some clients that come every 8 weeks. I have some clients that come every 3 months, you know.
Hmm.
So, I mean, I don't want to discount the people who maybe can't come in as often, but most of my
Right.
regulars are about every 4 weeks. I have some people
Okay.
that are working on specific goals, and sometimes we see those people every 2 weeks. I have some clients that maybe have a specific goal and they work on a series, and maybe I see them a couple of times a week because we're working
Hmm.
on a series that builds on itself, kind of like microcurrent. The more you do it, the more it builds on yourself, like going to the gym. Like you can go to the gym
Hmm.
once
Hmm.
and you're not going to be all tone and tight, right? I mean, you're going to have a
Yeah.
little bit of ooh, I feel so tone and tight. But then, like, several days later, you
Yeah.
don't feel like that anymore. The more consistent you are with things, the more they build on themselves and the more greater result that you get, right? Whether it's using skincare or a treatment that you're getting in a salon.
Hmm.
So most of mine come about every 4 weeks. My regulars are every four.
Okay. And then I know that you have some specialty services with oncology, that you have a special certification or licensing for oncology patients.
Yeah, so I did some advanced training with Oncology Training International. It's great. I don't know, it's an institution, great program. It was started by
Hmm.
Marag Curran, this lady who is an esthetician who is based out of, I think she's in South Africa. I could be totally wrong. But they use companion products with Hale and Hush, which is I use in my treatment room. And so I did certifications and training through them, advanced training, and it's really great. It's something that I heard about before I went to aesthetic school. And I thought, because of my basal cell, I was like, you know what, this is something that really interested me. I had some pretty heavy duty severe scarring when I came out of my surgery. My surgery was on my face and they did Mohs surgery. And like I said, I had a basal cell, which is there's three different kinds of skin cancer. There's basal, squamous, and melanoma. And melanoma, obviously, just about everybody's heard of melanoma. It metastasizes.
Hmm.
It can be fatal. It's very serious. Can be very fast growing. Squamous is kind of somewhere in the middle. It can metastasize. Sometimes it doesn't. Basal cell typically does not metastasize, which means it doesn't spread to other parts of your body.
Hmm.
But its basal cell is very small, typically on the surface. And underneath the surface is kind of like a tree with giant tree roots. And so it can really spread out far and wide. You know, if you think of trees on the surface, they don't look very big. But when you start digging, the roots just can branch out everywhere and they can just
Hmm.
kind of wrap around almost like tentacles. They just wrap around everything that they're in the dirt. And basal cell's a lot like that. And so a very small spot on the surface can be quite intense once they get in there to start removing it. And that's how it was with me. They took a very large portion out of my cheek and they did some um, like restorative, whatever. They did some surgery after that
Hmm.
to put my face back together on that side,
Yeah.
basically, and what started out as a really small, the size of a pin dot ended up being greater than that of a silver dollar. Like it just was a really big chunk out from my face. And so anyway, that was really it was a really big deal to me. I have some
Yeah.
family members that have passed away of cancer, and so just to have cancer anywhere at all was a little traumatizing. And so I got through that, and like I said, I had some pretty major scarring, even though especially on your face, when they take out such a large portion, they can't just pinch that together when it's in a circle. They can't just like pinch
Hmm.
it together and stitch it, right? They have to flap it. And so they cut from my inner eye, underneath my eye, all the way down the side of my nose, almost to my chin. So I had this giant scar and I became very subconscious about it, right? We
Hmm.
would go out in public and I didn't go anywhere for a long time right after it happened because I look like I was a domestic violence
Mm-hmm.
a survivor. I mean, that's how I looked. And unfortunately, when I went out in public, people looked at my husband that way. I can't tell you how many
Oh,
people gave him really dirty looks, and they were just not nice about it because they made the assumption, right, that my husband
sure.
beat me,
Yeah.
which was, of course, not the case. And so it made it kind of easier not to go anywhere. So I just kind of
Yeah.
became a little bit of a hermit. I didn't go out. And then I had, 6 months post, I still had this huge gnarly scar that was like thicker than the size of my finger. I couldn't look through my left eye without unobstructed view, right? Like I could just see this scar. It was so big. And so I started doing some things. My surgeon was doing some things. We were kind of working together. And my niece works at a dermatology office that does the same kind of surgery. She sent me some things from their supplier, and all of that helped so much. But when I started looking into all of the oncology side of it, there's a whole side. The secondary part of the oncology training that I did when I did that intensive training was appearance recovery. And there's a whole appearance recovery side to that. And it goes
Mm-hmm.
beyond oncology. It goes to if you have surgery, if you've been in a car wreck, if you have vitiligo and where you have that melanin suppression in your skin. And, you've seen the people that have like very dark patches and they're losing their melanin, right? Especially with like African
Right.
American people, you see with them a lot. And so there's all these different things that you can do with makeup and with different things to help that appearance recovery so that people feel somewhat normal. And that's a side that really, going through my transition of my basal cell, that really spoke to me, is wanting people to feel normal, wanting them
Mm-hmm.
to, wanting to feel normal, wanting to feel like they look normal, wanting to have some kind of normalcy when they have something that is so literally in your face, right? Such a
Mm-hmm.
big outward display of what's going on with you personally. And you wear it. You can't hide something that's on your face, right? And
Yeah.
so that became a really big thing for me. And I just became really passionate about oncology aesthetics and trying to find out everything that I could. So I did this training and it was fantastic, super in depth. And we went into all of the oncology side of it and so much. And I have a few oncology clients and I've talked to other people who have oncology clients. And one of the things that we all find is that, just like I said a second ago, everyone just wants to be treated normally. When you
Mm-hmm.
encounter someone that has cancer, obviously, you kind of get hit with that. What do I say? I don't want to say something wrong. I don't want to do something wrong. I don't want to behave in a way that makes them uncomfortable. I don't want to be awkward. I don't, and you kind of get caught up
Yeah.
in this whole like, what do I do and how do I act? It's awkward for them too, and I know that for myself on a receiving end, it was awkward for me. And I didn't go through chemo and radiation and all the other things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, uh, one of the biggest things with that and with my clients is like they just want to be treated normally. There are
Mm-hmm.
obviously things that I do in a regular facial that I do not do in an oncology facial. One of the first things, obviously foremost, is getting an all clear from their doctor that they can have a service with me. And that's one of the biggest things. I don't do anything active. There's not a lot of I don't do facial massage. With facial massage, a lot of times, whether it's advertently or inadvertently, there's lymphatic drainage, and you don't want to do anything that's exciting all those cells, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
when you excite those cells, could excite the wrong kind of cells, and you don't want to give life to a cell that you're trying to kill off, and so or cause immune lymphatic drainage that is going to be detrimental to your health because you are immunosuppressed. So there's so many things that go into that side of it. It's a shortened service. And mainly the whole focus about that service is the number one focus is just helping them to feel normal, helping them to be
Sure.
pampered, helping them to be loved on. Physical touch is huge. They are so
Yeah.
separated from people.
Yeah.
They don't, they kind of isolate themselves. And so physical touch is huge. I have um, one client that, they lose their hair.
Mm-hmm.
And I took off her cap and I said, would you mind if I gave you a scalp massage? And
Mm-hmm.
very patchy on top. And she was just like, she broke down in tears and she was like, you'd want to touch my head? And I'm like,
Oh,
absolutely, I want to touch your. I'm like, yeah, of course I do, And so
yeah.
they go through this. It's not just something that their body is fighting. but it's so emotional for them as well.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something that just psychologically takes its toll as well. And so to be able to step into that space with them and to just love on them and to be able to minister to them in that way and just be in that space with them and say, I see you. I like recognize what you're going through. You can talk about it. You can not talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
We can, I have clients that would come in and they would talk with me and they're like, please just be thinking of me because I've got to talk to my family about this, or my cancer's back.
Yeah.
I got to tell them, or I've got to go in for this and I don't know if it's going to be cancer. And there's just so many aspects of that they just need someone a lot of times to come alongside them and just be there in a way that,
Yeah.
and I don't want to say in a way that nobody else can be there, but be there in a way that you're attached, but you're not attached. Does that make
Mm-hmm.
sense?
It
Like
does. Yes.
you're walking it with them, but you're not so entrenched in their daily life that, that it makes it difficult. There's,
Mm-hmm.
we can a lot of times tell strangers things that we can't tell the people that we love the most, right? And I can't tell you
Yeah.
how many people leave my room and say, thanks for the therapy. I mean, it's just, and it's not that I'm doing
Yes.
anything.
No.
Sometimes we just need a space to
Yeah.
go and be. So,
Right.
yeah,
No, I'm the same with my occupation too. I mean, sometimes I feel like, yeah, that was a very therapeutic session. Well, and I think it's the
right.
same with hairdressing too. It's something with just that
Absolutely.
one-on-one. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I
So I
agree.
love
Oh,
it.
you're
Yeah.
amazing. Oh my gosh, that's
Oh, thank
great.
you.
You're doing so many wonderful things. And I just love that you found this, because
Yeah.
clearly you're
Yeah.
passionate about it and you're wonderful.
Yeah. Thank
Yeah.
you. Well, and same to you. Same to you.
Well,
You're so like
thanks.
all
Thank you.
everything that you always post is, I, one of the things that I've loved about you since we were young is that you are you're just a very inspiring person. You bring energy to everything that you do and encouragement. And I think that just translates across to everything that you do. Even just like silly pictures that you post with like
Oh,
you and Dave. It's just, it's just always fun. It's always inspiring. It's something that always makes people feel good.
oh,
So there,
thank you.
that's
That is
you.
so sweet. Oh my goodness. Okay. How can people find you? Let's change the subject. How can people find you?
Okay. I am in Spring Hill at Perfect Details Salon, and they have a website and they have all of their providers are listed with all of our booking links. That's probably the easiest way to find me.
Okay.
I have a Facebook page that I think is just Tracie Johnson Aesthetics. That was a kind of a transitional thing. And so I just left it at that, so that's the
Mm-hmm.
name there. And there's an Instagram page, I think, as well. I think it's at Shine Beauty _ aesthetics, something like that. So,
Okay.
yeah. But
Okay.
the easiest thing, probably, especially for booking, is just to go to Perfect Details website and just find me under the service provider list. And there's a link there. Most people can
Okay.
remember that.
Okay. Yeah. And I will put that in the show notes so anyone that's interested can take a look at that
Yeah.
too. Yeah. This has been so nice. Thank you for taking time out of your schedule. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on.
Okay. We will talk soon.
All right.
Bye. Tracie is so skilled and talented in her services. I'm so happy that she was able to share with us. I hope you learned something from our conversation. I know I did. Here are a few takeaways. 1, services from an esthetician can be for self-care, but also so much more. They can help with anti-aging, we all want that, and aid in resolving specific skin conditions. 2, your skin is your largest organ. What you put on will be absorbed into your body. The molecular weight of the substance will determine the amount of absorption. 3, the order you apply your products will also depend on the weight of the product. An esthetician can help you with the proper order and technique of application. 4, sunscreen is the #1 anti-aging product and should be worn every day. UVA rays are the aging rays, so wear your sunscreen and reapply frequently. 5, for low maintenance, like me, simply start with a cleanser, moisturizer, and SPF. The key is the right type of products for your skin type. 80% of the population is using the wrong products for their skin type. An esthetician can help you determine what is right for you. 6, these professionals can be very helpful for oncology patients. Finding a trained esthetician like Tracie can make a huge impact on that patient's overall well-being. Since our discussion, Tracie is restructuring her business. She is currently accepting new clients for consultations online and will be scheduling in-person sessions as openings arise. Her contact information is in the show notes, so don't hesitate to reach out to her. Thanks so much for listening. If you enjoy this podcast, it would mean so much to me if you take a few seconds to do each or all of the following. First, follow or subscribe to Spandex and Wine. It'll help you so you don't miss an episode, and it'll help me because you won't miss any episodes. To do this, you'll just go to the podcast, click subscribe or follow wherever you are listening. Look for the plus sign or follow button, and this is one of the best things that you can do for the podcast, so thank you. If you'd also be willing to give a 5-star review, that would be amazing. And lastly, please share an episode with a friend or 5 to keep the love going. I appreciate you. Thanks.